Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Surviving Life's Pickles. We're here again, so that means we've survived all of our pickles through this last week, and we are so grateful to be hanging out with you again today during this hour, and so grateful that you guys have taken the time out of your busy lives to hang out with us and to listen to the amazing story of our guest today, Liz Brady. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited. Liz is one of Hillary's longtime friends, and her story is absolutely incredible. So we can't wait to share that with you guys today. But before we start, if anybody has ever tuned in to our episodes, we start all our episodes off with gratitude.
Mhm.
And the reason we do that is it really sets the tone for what we're going to talk about. It really just inspires us, makes sure that everybody's on the same wavelength for the conversations and the messages that we have to share going forward. And you can't have negative thoughts in your head if you're filled with gratitude. So we don't want any negative thoughts in this show.
No.
And so we are kicking them out with starting with gratitude and positivity.
Yeah.
So let's start it off, Hill. Let's roll. You're going to take it away and start today's gratitude.
Okay. Well, today I am grateful that I had the opportunity to spend time with family. I get to do my grandma's hair every couple of weeks, and I asked her if she wanted to go to lunch, and suddenly it kind of turned into a party because my aunt showed up and then my dad showed up, so all of us got to go to lunch together. It was really fun because we started sharing stories. We were talking about how grandma has a story for everything because she's 89 years old, and so she has 89 years worth of stories. And so I got to hear some stories that I've heard before, but a few stories that I hadn't heard before, and it was just really fun to sit and visit with them and have lunch, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity that I still have to enjoy that.
Yeah, 3 generations there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
So,
awesome.
yeah.
All right, Liz, let's throw it to you.
I am really grateful for baby giggles and my family. Like, seriously, this last week, we were able to have a family get together at my house with all of my kids. And I was so happy. All of my kids were in the backyard and all of my grandkids, and they were swimming and playing in the pool and the slide thing. And I was in just making a salad, and my heart was so full of just joy of like, everyone's okay, and believe it or not, I'm okay, and, like, it's almost like yeah, I just am my heart today is so full for my family and the joy they give me.
Oh, I love that.
It's beautiful.
Well, and I mean, really, all rounded out and kind of keeping the same theme. I am so grateful today for the time that I get to spend with you, Hill. The last week, last 4 days have been just great. We've been able to spend time having some really good conversations. Been able to spend time having fun, watching shows, laughing super hard at movies. Just the time we've spent together in the last 4 days has just been so memorable, and it's definitely up there in those times that I won't forget. Like we'll be 20 years from now and talking about that stupid time when we took Brutus, which is our big F-550 flatbed trick up on a road trip to Vernal together and just had great conversations and blew a radiator hose and broke the transmission. It was just a great time. It really just after everything that happened, we had such a good time overall. And I'm just so grateful that I made those memories and that we are in a position that we can just do that.
I would agree. We've had some really special last few days with some really deep, needed, good conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm grateful for today. Kind of keeping it in the family,
Yeah.
as we say. So, well, Liz, I'm so excited. I know this much. Just a little glimpse into Liz's life through things that I have heard Hillary tell me. And as we were sitting down again, she refers to you as her strongest friend.
Mhm.
And I'm going to kick it over to Hillary really fast and just let her give a quick rundown, really, of all the things that you've been through in the last few years. And then we're going to dive into how you were able to deal with these, how that resilience came out from some of these experiences, what you learned on the way, because it is in the middle of June
Mhm.
and we're actually in Men's Mental Health Month. But I feel so strongly that we can learn so much from you as men because we just don't. We close off, we think we know everything, and I'm so excited for you to share your story because we have so many men that listen to this, and I'm hoping that they can learn from your story and learn from some of the things that you've gone through so we don't have to do those hard things over and over again. And really, women in general. I mean, sometimes men, we just need to, it's better for our mental health to be more like women and talk, to be more like women and listen. And I'm excited to hear both of those things from you today. So
Okay.
let's bounce it over to Hill and let's talk about a few things that Liz has gone through.
So I met Liz at our job
Mhm.
at the treatment center 10 years ago. And it's crazy to think that we've known each other that long already. But Liz, immediately you were like my big sister. And you just took me under your wing. I mean, I was still kind of early in recovery. I had like 2 years, but you took me under your wing and you were my go-to for the longest time of when I was just stuck in my head or if I had a problem or I just couldn't get past my own self, you always seemed to center me and bring me back. And I'm just so grateful to have you here and to I know you and I know your story, but I've never actually heard you speak and tell your full story. So I'm really excited to hear the bits and pieces that I might not know. And I'm just grateful for you and the opportunity for you to share with us. So,
All righty. Well, all right. I'm excited to share. I'm super nervous. And one thing you should know about me is um, I laugh a lot, but I also cry a lot
yeah.
too. So
That's a good balance.
I'm a feeler all the way through and through. Okay. So, a little bit about me. And just to get to know a little bit about my background, I was born and raised here in Utah.
Mhm.
I was born into a family with a mom and a dad, and we were raised in a predominant religion here in Utah. However, a little caveat to my story is my mom started with mental health issues when I was an infant. Her mom died when my mom was around 25 or 26 or something like that. Literally, I was like 18 months old when my grandma died. And it started my mom into a lot of depression and stuff like that, from what I've heard of the story. But what I can tell you is this is basically I was raised in a great family. My mom had a lot of depression. And the way that my mom came from a large family and so did my dad. And the way that they dealt with things is they kind of swept it under the rug and we acted like it wasn't nothing was going on. So from a young age, I would be picked up and taken out of the house for a couple of months because my mom would be in treatment for depression and stuff. And my dad would just be working, 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 working. And so I got to thinking that at a very young age that if everyone was okay, then I would be okay because I could stay home, right? And that started it with my mom, my dad, everybody. So fast forward to I'm in high school,
Mhm.
and in high school, I honestly, I guess yeah, I guess I'll tell the story this way. In high school, I really didn't know who I was. In order to understand how I got there to a big change happened to me about 6 years ago, but that's because I discovered something deeper.
Mhm.
um, but anyways, in high school, I didn't really know who I was personally. I guess I just loved everyone. I loved everyone. I do still love everyone. I love people. I love people. I
And
do.
you are a people person.
And
We really know ourselves in high school, though.
yeah, no, totally. So I was a people person. So I also have dyslexia and some learning disabilities, and I also have ADHD. So you can imagine school was a little rough. And with a mom who, even all through high school, would be gone for a month or two or even in bed for most of a few months or even a year because she was depressed and was fighting mental health, and they didn't know a lot about it. Um, And so I just started running with any group of friends I could run with. And during that time, I would drink a little bit, but I didn't drink. I only drank on the weekends. I never would do drugs. I thought drugs were evil. Like people that did drugs were evil. And then I met my husband. And instead of running with all of these friends and sloughing my whole life away, which was what I was doing, I met this man. And I was like, ooh, I really like you. You're kind of nice. Well, we started dating and we were friends in our junior year. We got married a year after we graduated high school. So we were high school sweethearts. We've been married. Well, so we got married in 94 and we've had a year and a half off for poor behavior, however you want to count that. Okay. I know that's a funny part of the story, but it is. Sometimes we have poor behaviors, which make us have time out. And so we got married. Once again, part of that story is I thought as long as everyone was okay, then I was okay. I never shared with anybody how I was really feeling. I allowed everybody's feelings to manage how I was feeling. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I would get mad if Kit would come home and have a bad day from work and he would be upset. Then I'd be like, and I couldn't fix it. Then he just wanted time. I would get offended and I would be like, well, you're mad at me. So then I'd pick fights with him. And I didn't realize that was me being codependent in wanting to make him okay when really he just needed some space for a bit and he could make himself okay and decide if he wanted to talk. And so my need to be right on top of it made Kit feel like I got to retract a lot away. We get busy having kids, one right after another. We go, here's the big part of the stories. We go in, my husband goes into business with his brother, his older brother, and who is his oldest brother and his superhero. My father-in-law, who is an angel in heaven to me, suffered from mental health his whole life too. And that was one thing my husband and I bonded over, is his dad started having major depression too, but his mom just picked up the pieces and would do things. My mom and his dad both went through electric shock therapy and things. And that was in the area that they were.
Yeah.
So you need to know that about my father-in-law because me and Kit get married and we start having kids very quickly. Literally, we have 4 kids in 5 years, peeps. It's a lot. But in that first, we have 3 kids where Kit goes into business with his brother. And out of nowhere, his brother started having depression about 5 years beforehand. And one morning I get a phone call. I'm out of town and Kit's brother has committed suicide.
Oh.
And Kit was at the job site waiting for him to show up with the other workers from the business and a superintendent. And his wife called Kit. And this was in 99? Yeah, 99, I think. Anyways, and so Kit gets so mad. He's doing construction, has always worked with wood with all of his life, is amazing at it. Drops it, won't do it again, closes that business, buries his brother. He is broken, but won't talk about it at all. And me, okay, we don't talk about things. Remember, everything goes under the rug. Shh, that was a problem, but we don't talk about it.
And that's how you were raised.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's get too busy. Let's get working. How are we going to get money and do this stuff? So we kept working. Well, during that time, we have another baby. We move out to Eagle Mountain. I take a higher position in a job, and I am actually diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I have to have a hysterectomy because I have cancer in my uterus. And all that happens when I'm 27. I also find out I have Graves' disease at the same time. Okay. So we're learning a lot of information. We are moving out to Eagle Mountain, and Kit still at that time, we didn't deal with men's mental health at that time. So Kit didn't go talk to anybody. I didn't be like, hey, we need to go talk to somebody about what's going on. It was very much anyway. So we just didn't talk about it. We got busy working. A few years into that, at that time, remember I had rheumatoid arthritis, so I had access to pain medicine.
Yeah.
And at that time I started running because I thought running was cool. All my friends at JCPenney, I worked at JCPenney at the time, were running. And so I started running. Well, in order to run, I'd have to take pain medicine to run afterwards to keep going to work. So during this time, I start using the pain medicine as prescribed. And I really was using it as prescribed. I laugh now because it's so funny. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and say that. Were you dealing with your emotions? No, not at all. So then the floor falls out from underneath me. I find out that my husband, who I love with all my heart, and I now know why, also suffers from addiction. Um, he had a pornography addiction, and I didn't know. And I was one of those women who thought it was no big deal, and people made a big deal out of it. And it was our Mormon culture, and it was all this stuff. You guys are freaks about it. Who cares? I would point out women who I thought were beautiful. Like, seriously, I didn't have any problem because I didn't know it could be a problem.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, because us as women, even just growing up in society, we see pornography. You hear about the boys with their magazines, and
with Pamela Anderson,
Yeah.
Locklear. That's who I wanted to look
yeah,
like, dude.
it never occurred to us that that could actually be something that could be detrimental to your mental health, and that could be something that they were addicted to. We didn't hear about that until maybe the last 20 years we started hearing about more porn being an addiction. So yeah.
I literally didn't know it could be and hadn't heard anything about it. And then I find out this, and I found out he was hiding some stuff. And I felt like the best way I could tell it to anybody is I felt like I was in a mirage of mirrors. I felt like everything went down, but I was so private about what was going on in my own house that I didn't dare tell my sisters what were going on. I didn't talk to my mom about what was going on. I didn't talk to anyone. The only people I talked to were my friends. And then these friends were like, oh, he's just being a jerk. This is ridiculous. You should come out with us. And I kind of got mad at God. I'm not going to lie. I was like, you're right. God sucks, because if there is a God and he lets this happen to women who are trying to do the right thing, I just lost it. I just was like, if you're not there for me, God, I have fought so hard, I'm out. So I figured I was going to try everything the opposite way. That was 3 years, people. 3 years it took me from the first time. I can tell you, I purposely took a couple pain pills and drank on one weekend that I did not have. The very first weekend, I did not have my kids when my husband and I were separated. My family didn't know what was going on, so they were calling me relentlessly on a phone, on my cell phone, which I hadn't heard because it was in my purse, and I was out with friends and I wasn't doing anything bad. However, when I went into the restroom and saw those calls, because of what was going on, they had made all these assumptions. And I decided, that's it, I'm going to burn it down. So that day I went out, I drank, and I got loaded on pain pills. And I wasn't married. I didn't care if I was ever married again. I was like, burn it to the ground. And that started out 3 years later. I had on 4/20, 3 years later, I got a DUI, parked in a parking lot because someone called in a girl passed out against her window. And I was so mad at the cop that took me in. I was like, this is ridiculous. I tried to lie through the whole thing. And Kit had to get called from work to come and get me. And I didn't even care about it. I didn't care that he had to come from work to get me. I didn't care he had to pay $500 to bail me out. All I cared about is they had taken some of my pills and they weren't going to give them back to me. And 5 days later, I had a spiritual awakening. My sister, who passed away, so part of that's part of my story too. 5 years after Kit's brother died, my sister died. That also showed me that God didn't care about me. So in a short period of time, my husband lost his very best friend, his superhero and brother. My sister, who was everything to our family, had died and left 2 little boys, and then had left. Her husband then died 3 years later. And if there was a God who allowed a man to have this happen to him with 4 girls, what kind of God was there? That's what I sincerely felt in my heart.
You lost your faith.
Completely. Ah, take me to the bottom of the barrel. And my sister comes and she says, "If you do not change, your daughter will find you in bed just like my son found me." And I said to my husband, and I got help. We went to treatment. That was a good time. I was so ticked off. It was everyone else's fault I was in treatment because you all didn't have your crap together and you didn't tell me that I didn't have my crap together. Didn't have anything to do with the fact that I was choosing to try and numb out.
Mhm.
I couldn't make things better for Kit, and Kit didn't want to get help. And I didn't know how to use my voice and my words to tell anybody how to get help. So at that time, we then started out of a whole new thing. And I went through treatment. After treatment, that's when the year and a half of poor behavior came off is after, because it was like, I don't want this. And he's like, fine. If you don't want it, that's fine. I'm just going to sleep in this house for the kids. Fine. Do it for the kids. And my world crashed again. And that's when Hill at this time had met me a little bit after I came back from the first time, right? Oh, sorry, I skipped.
It's okay.
Sorry. So I come back from treatment. I'm working at J.C. Penney's. It's a hot mess. I can't work and do what I'm doing at J.C. Penney's and be a mom and at all, because at that point I wanted to use, and I wanted to use so bad. It was all I could do to stay in my skin.
Yeah.
And it was because I was miserable where I was at. So I was going to aftercare, and they offered me to go and work at Cirque they're like, just come and serve. And I was like, all right, whatever. Then pretty soon they offered me a job. And I was like, okay. Then I took a year off, and then I ended up loving working at Cirque and found that I found my life, my husband. I found so many things back again.
You
During
found a new purpose.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And during this time, it became really evident to me that secrets were a problem within our family. Does that make like I started realizing that was the problem.
All the secrets are underneath the rug, and nobody wants to talk about what's there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to lift the rug up
Yeah.
and take a look at it.
And so I've discovered over the last couple of years something about myself. I'm an advocate in the worst way. Okay. Peacemakers are really great, but they also are not peacemakers. Advocates are advocates, but they're also like bossy as can be. So I thought I wanted to show everybody what was underneath the rug. And that was a little hard at first, I think. So we found our way back to each other. We start talking about things, and I get sick again.
Mhm.
And that's I get sick, and they tell us it's not going to be good. And this time they're like, there's not a good chance, but we're going to fight it. And so in this story, it's important to know that I'm really good friends with a lady by the name of Ingrid. And she worked at Cirque when I went through Cirque. Then later, she was still working at Cirque when I worked for Cirque, and I worked closely with her.
Mhm.
And when I got sick with cancer, and they didn't look good, I was good friends with Ingrid. And Ingrid came into my family, and she really became friends with Kit and my kids. And she started talking me through a lot of things. And what she said, be ready, because remember, behaviors come out when people are scared. And I wanted Kit to go get help so much. I was like, just go get help, just go do this. And it's really important that everyone knows is what I've learned and what I want most women to know and most men to know. You want a strong woman. Men need a strong woman. You are our providers. You preside over us. You not over us, you preside with us, but you need us to be strong and to tell you can do hard things. Like, so Kit and I fight cancer, everything turns around, we're doing good. I decide to go back to work at Cirque. Meet Hillary. Things I think are going okay. Um, I don't know. I guess the biggest thing I should say is I didn't realize how codependent I was
You
with
still haven't
everybody.
really faced that.
I hadn't faced any of my codependency.
Yeah.
Well, I think together it sounds like the codependency was so much of working so hard to keep all these things hidden
Right?
was the biggest thing that you guys were kind of battling at that time.
Right. And for Kit, he's an uber private person. And he was like, well, what's the problem? Can't you just handle it all? And I'm like, I'm a soda pop can ready to break open.
Yeah.
I can't, I've got to just be openly who I am. And Kit was trying. He was trying. But here's where it gets crazy. So I go back to work at Cirque and life is going back on track, right? I don't care what anyone says. Everybody's life's like a roller coaster. It's up and down and sideways and left and right.
Yeah.
When I go back to work at Cirque and the codependency part, because this is what me working at Cirque, I loved it. Why do you think I loved it? Because the people loved me. So I was
You were
needed.
needed.
Needed. Mhm.
So what did God do for me? He's like, oh, you think you need this. And I was unwilling to fight what was really going on and to fight secrets that were really going on in both mine and Kit's life that were causing part of the problem. I get super sick with cancer to the point that they can't figure out. And the doctors are like, it's not the cancer that's hurting her. It's not the cancer that's killing her. We don't know what to tell you. And then they send me to a GI person and he's like, I think you have waster syndrome because I can't figure out anything else that's going on with you except for that your body is in uber drive. So Liz went from 215 pounds to 106 pounds in a year and a half.
Yeah.
2 years.
It was pretty quick.
It was like lightning fast. And I honestly believe it was God's way of making Kit and I face the ugly beast for once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
And we both went in and we have both come out on amazing side. So I got super sick. We became willing to, I kept working at Cirque because I couldn't give it up. Because what would I be if I went home? Hello.
Mhm.
And
Well, you're the codependent that becomes the dependent.
Mm-hmm.
So, for a codependent, that's almost impossible.
well, and so my mom was sick a lot, right? So I did not want to be sick and have my kids have to take care of me. I was so prideful. God's like, you are going to get humbled. And he humbled me right down. So I kept fighting it and I got so sick and I basically I had to decide what I was going to do. I knew if I kept staying at Cirque, it was hurting the people I loved there because my better friends were having to pick up my slack. And I didn't realize that I needed to go home. So when I went home, it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life and the best gift I ever gave our family. And that's when the Band-Aid really came off. My kids, I have 4 kids and they're just my kids. So I'm just going to say this so that everybody knows it. In this story, I had 4 daughters, but my oldest is my son. His name is Lex, and I love him with all of my heart. And nobody gets to take that from me. Like, I don't care who you are. We're very close. And that was a whole journey that we had to go on, including that with my husband.
Yeah.
Because my husband was very determined he was not going to love that child like that. He said I would never call him my son. And I was like, oh, you're going to have to figure this out. It was very hard. And those 2 have figured it out. And he calls him Lex and he calls him son and he is proud of him. And Lex has had to be one of the ones who's like, nope, we're just talking about it, Dad. This is just the way it is. And So I have Lex, who's trans and has married and has 2 kids, Toby and Lainey, who are my grandchildren. Toby healed our family in ways you could never have guessed. Then we had Lainey, and then I have Taylor. She's my second daughter, and she is married and has a baby and is pregnant with another one. And then I have Dallas, who is married to Cole, and they have a baby named Nikki. And then I have Morgan. So I'm very close with all of my kids. But Lex being trans was a huge part of that story in the middle too. So I think why Hill thinks I'm so tough is I think when Hill's like, okay, wait a minute, your husband had a brother kill himself. Yeah, and we survived it. Your sister died of an overdose. Yeah, uh-huh. It was crazy. And her husband, yeah, and you survived it. Yeah, you survived cancer. Yeah, your son's trans and you love him and you survived it. Yeah, we did.
You've been through a lot.
I think this last one, though, was me. Nobody could do anything. I could get in and fight. I know how to fight for anyone. I'm an advocate at heart. But I think what finally healed my family was realizing that everybody needs to be taken care of at some point. Does that make sense? You have to be vulnerable. And I didn't know I could be that vulnerable. So to be as vulnerable to my kids when I went home, basically I went home and I didn't know what I was going to do, people. I woke up every morning at 5 a.m. and I watched the sun come up. And I'd be like, I don't know how you're going to give me another day. I don't know what you want me to do with today. And I really became willing. I had prayed to have the obsession removed from my addiction. And that obsession to use got removed, but my need to want to numb out or do something different, shop, whatever you want to call it, didn't. However, I had never prayed in a way of saying, I don't know what I need. I don't know what any of my loved ones need anymore. Because in my life, I thought if I could make everyone better, then everything would be okay. So when I got super sick this last time, I numbed out through TV shows. So Kit would come home from work and I would just be watching TV. So Kit would go play video games. Video games and pornography run right together. So I'm asking him, basically saying, go do your own thing, you know? And I didn't even realize I was doing that. So I started praying with all my heart. And I would have to take a bath every day, all day. I'd sit in the bath sometimes for hours. And it kind of became my sacred grove place. It kind of just became my prayer place, my prayer bathroom, call it what you want. And so I know Raquel came to me that day. I believe firmly in angels. I know they're everywhere. Raquel came to me when I was in addiction. My cousin Mandy, who passed away when I was 5, who I was very close with, came to me and told me, you need to gather your family close. And I'm like, okay, I'll gather them close. So I gathered my kids and my husband. And the next day she's like, I'm sitting there thinking, she's like, you need to get your whole family close. So I called my sisters and I got really honest with them about where I was at. And I finally, for the first time, told everybody what was going on. And I remember breaking down in Natalie's bedroom when I fell on the floor. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm broken. Someone has to pick me up and put me back together because I literally can't do this. And I remember Natalie getting on the floor with me and my sister Angie and Christine. And they all said, you can, and we will stand with you. So how did I get through this? Was very close people who were willing to say, when I said I can't stand, they said, I know, but we'll stand for you. And they did. My sister Natalie was ready to take me to the Mayo Clinic in Texas because nobody was finding anything at Huntsman, nothing. We were like, everyone was lost. And She woke up one morning, she's like, "Hey, I need you to come with me to this appointment, and you're gonna think it's really weird." I giggle because it's foot zoning, and if anybody doesn't know about it, I'm a little woo-woo-y. Everybody get prepared. Hi, my name is Liz. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I love crystals. I do foot zoning, and I believe in woo-woo. So if you can, we can all be friends now.
We have talked about foot zoning a little bit on the show, and the power of it, of
Uh,
what it can do.
I think if you really want to know about it, so I met this girl. Her name is Rachel, and she changed my life. She got in and she started finding things with me right off that was able to get into some stuff of some emotions that I was storing within our body. There's an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score. If you are experiencing any kind of autoimmune disease or cancers or mental health, I honestly would implore any, or you have a loved one, get it, read the book
Mhm.
and do a little more exploring on it. It does make it really makes sense. So she started working on me. Um, One day she brought up, she says, all right, she started teaching me how to meditate at CERT 16 years ago, whatever. And they tried to teach me in 2009 how to meditate. I could not meditate, people. There was no way. I'd be like, see the ocean, see the ocean. I'd be like, I just see little spots in front of my eyes. Like I could not do it.
Yeah, to spend time with it.
Uh-huh. Um, so, but Rachel started teaching me how to just take deeper breaths.
Yeah.
So part of my other story is I used to be a smoker for a long time, and I'm funny, I started smoking once I got sober because it was a legal rebel thing I could do. And, it taught me how to take a deeper breath. I didn't realize what it was doing until I literally met Rachel, and she started teaching me how to take deeper breaths into my heart and really teaching me what heart space meant. So I think what I would say is when Natalie took me to Rachel and I started learning about the foot zoning and she started getting into that, um, it she reached in and she found out and I had known about this. As a child, there was somebody who perpetrated on me quite a few times. And instead of telling anybody, that person would say that my dad would get mad at me and call me a liar and would beat me. And my dad had used to spank and actually did beat a couple of my siblings. That is a fact. Um, so I used to think that that's what would happen to me if I told anybody. So she found out about that and she asked me about it. And I looked at her and she's like, you don't have to tell me, but I already know. I can see it in you and I could feel it in you.
She found it through the foot zoning.
Through the foot zoning and through the meditation.
Mm.
And we started working on that. She's like, I just think you ought to think about if that even resonates to you. And I started realizing some things. And it started, I went back 2 days later and we did an amazing meditation that I was able to get into theta and I was able to actually experience feeling my child come back. There was a beautiful pink light that came back into me. I know it was. And she asked me, she's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know, but it feels amazing.
Mhm.
And I remember showing up a while later at Cirque and telling everybody, I don't know, but I feel like a kid again, and I don't even know how that happened. How do I feel like I've finally reached like
I remember seeing you, and it was like just this weight was lifted off of you, and you were glowing, and you just exuded joy.
yeah, so I think what happened is when that happened, she was able to teach me how to get in and to actually go in and heal that.
Oh, well, so the biggest thing right now, there is one word that stands out so powerful right now to me with everything you've been saying of getting to this point where you're at right now. You would not have made it to this point if it wasn't for the one word called vulnerability.
Uh-huh.
You finally,
Humility.
when you were laying on that floor with your sisters at your most vulnerable point, you were able to finally express that vulnerability that you'd been holding on to. You didn't know how to what that word even meant up until that point. But that was that almost turning point, it sounds like, in your journey of being vulnerable enough to say, here is all my shit.
Yep.
And I really can't do this alone. And I need help physically, mentally, and spiritually. I need help with all three.
Yeah.
And because of that, now you're open. Now you're being able to visit Rachel, and
You're thriving.
you're thriving because now she's teaching you how to live vulnerably by starting with your breath and then starting with acknowledging different things going on in your body. I remember my first foot zoning when she looked at me and we got done and she's like, you need to start eating beets every day.
Oh yeah, I hated that one. Yeah.
And she's like, you have a blood pressure problem.
Mhm.
And I have ate beets every day since then, and my blood pressure has been perfect.
Uh, yeah, that's what I would say. I think to me that's probably where the biggest healing in my journey has come. I've survived a lot of things, but what I have really found and what foot zoning has done has allowed me to find a way in how to heal that and thrive. So Rachel helped me get off a lot of things. She took me and put me uh on barley grass and like I'm like, guys, I do not know what to tell you. I take barley grass, I take lemon balm, I take cat fennel. I'm like, I take the silliest
All
supplements.
these witchy supplements.
I'm like, but that's what I'm doing. And now I'm coming off all this other, but I feel amazing. The first time she zoned me and did that stuff and I was able to do that theta with her, I felt like I had more energy in 6 hours than I had had in 8 months. And that's when I knew. But really, Rachel started to pick up on all of that stuff. She was like, "You hold on to different things." Like my kidneys were one area where I have a lot of problems because of my cancer. I get a lot of kidney stones and I had kidney infections and all that stuff. Well, guess what, people? Kidneys hold resentment.
Mm, that makes sense.
Does anybody else know anybody that has kidney issues? Because I started laughing because Kit does. And I was like, really shocking.
So, I mean, really, Rachel turned into, and I want to throw this out there because some people listening have heard of foot zoning. We've talked about it.
Mhm.
Some people have not. But what it comes down to is foot zoning is a pathway with a guide that can help you to heal physically and mentally and emotionally, just like is if you go and do a therapy session.
Mhm.
But it's like blending like therapy and doctor in like the best way. It's like
It's
I think
integrating them.
it is integrating them. And I think that's the difference. Like I have not gone away from all of Western medicine, people. I do still have Western medicine in my life, but I've learned that where we live, we took away a lot of Eastern medicine
Right.
and replaced it. And what I am finding is that we need that. And the earth is amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, we've been given this amazing thing. Look at everything we have within it that can help us, that maybe we don't need these other things that are able to help us. So, what I have found is definitely that. Like, if therapy is not something you can do, I'm going to be honest with you, men. If it's not, I know many men who can do this. And it allows you because you don't have to talk.
Right.
And that's the best part. She might ask you a question, but you don't even have to answer. She may not even ask you a question, or he or whoever you get to find you. But know that when you do it, it is a lot like finding a therapist. So make sure you find someone who
You have to
Fits.
connect with them.
yeah, that can
Yeah.
connect with you and is someone who is probably on your journey and on your path because um I I guess my biggest thing is I have found help from people. The most helpful things I have found in my thing is finding help from people who want to help me with my beliefs and my values and morals and not make me want to change to their beliefs and their values and morals.
They're acting as that guide, not
Yes.
as somebody who is trying to teach you new things.
Right.
They're trying to integrate what you already know.
Or trying to teach you like anything like, oh, these people are toxic for you. They're
Right.
this or that. I think we have to be really careful of that. And I think that what it is any good therapist or doctor would want you to integrate good health, physical well being, and eating healthy and balanced diet, anyways. But So I guess to me, that's what it is it really is being willing to integrate it both. But it has definitely 100% changed everything about my life. And even my doctors all were like, okay, this is my best part. So people listen up. Dead serious. If you've been diagnosed with something or you struggle with anything physically that you cancer, autoimmune, I don't care what it is, find a good foot zoning person, reflexology. They can help you a lot. They really can. But with that, just make sure you're finding someone who is willing to do all that work with you. You know what I
Right.
mean? But yeah, I would go that way. I would find any modality you can. That's I guess what I was going to
Don't
is the
don't just give up
modality.
on one thing.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many things out there that can help.
So the first time when I had cancer, when my doctor was really adamant to talk to me about where are you spiritually? And I was like, oh, this is where I'm at, you know? Then after that, he made me get into meditation and things like that because he's like, I could fight with you all day long. But if you aren't willing to bring in this added piece, basically you're going against yourself. You're kind of fighting against yourself. And I watched that happen. What I really watched happen with Rachel was me being able to integrate in something that was deeper that I didn't know was deeper. So I think if you're going and doing like if you can go and get help in Western medicine and you feel great about it, that's great. But if you don't want to go to therapy and you haven't had great success with it, try this foot zoning. See if it can allow you to get to a place where you're like, wow, I didn't know that about myself. Maybe I can open myself up a little bit and be a little bit more vulnerable. The idea is to take that little piece and go away for a week or so and think and gnaw on it and see if it fits you. And if it doesn't fit you, let it flutter on by like a beautiful butterfly. And if it doesn't, pick it like a flower and put it in your bouquet. Use it.
Well, and with foot zoning, while we're on this, there are a ton. Like people don't realize how common it is. There are so many foot zonings here locally. And again, there's that gives you the options of finding the right person
Yes.
that you can do it. There are very few males. There are males out there. I have a really good friend, Andy Satterley, who is a foot zoner. He's one of the few men that do it, and he is amazing. But at the same time, I've had him do a little bit of foot zone on me, and then I've had somebody else, and me and Andy didn't click. Like I wasn't getting the same feeling. We weren't getting the same information as I did with the other person. And so I knew that, okay, this is kind of, again, finding the right doctor, finding the right therapist, finding that person. Because when you're seeing somebody, I think this is a message that keeps coming out with you is when you're searching for that, you need to find somebody that is willing to help you as a whole.
Mhm.
They might only be able to work with a piece of you. Maybe they are just an oncologist and that's what they specialize in, but they're working on you as a whole person,
Yes.
not just the cancer part
Yes.
of you. And that might not be their specialty, but then they bring in somebody else and they bring in somebody else and you build this team around you as far as healing
Yeah.
that everybody's focused on the same thing as your whole body, your
Yes.
whole self.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to that word. I'm going to go back to vulnerability because you can find this great team.
Mhm.
And if you are not willing to be vulnerable, if you're not willing to accept the things that you can't change, then having that team is not to be, it's not going to do you any
Well, it's
good.
not gonna do you any good if you're unwilling to accept what you are at that mirror. If you're unwilling to accept what is actually there, you
Yeah.
can't and do the work. So here's the thing. I I can't go to a doctor's office and expect to be in shape and everything be great if I don't eat correctly and work out and do
Right.
those things, right? So I think one of the things is if you want to practice your whole self, one of the things I learned is I had to start being accountable for what was going on with my thoughts. So the other thing I do is Rachel got me doing was journaling like all get out. Like and it's so that I can track where my thoughts are at.
Mhm.
What's been going on? Where are we at? What's happening? And that way I can be like, "Oh, here's what's important to me. It's not this other stuff," or whatever it is. I do that work, so I'm integrating all of it, so it's not like just going to a doctor's appointment. Because 'cause I've done that. I've been there where I've got the port, go in, "Okay, give me the treatment. Okay, gotta go. See ya. I gotta go. I'll be late. I've gotta go do this." You know what I mean? Expecting that I was gonna walk out of there and one day walk in and they're gonna be like, "Good
You're all
news,
better.
you're all better. You gotta
Right.
ring the bell." Awesome. Well, w w I've never there's not a bell to ring in life, I guess is what I have
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
You're constantly there's always gonna be a pickle in life, like, it doesn't matter what's going on, you know?
So
But
in
it is
this,
vulnerable.
I usually ask this question later, but I'm going to ask this question now because I feel it's really pertinent. During this journey, there's been some big switches in your perception in everything that you've done. Who gave you the advice that stuck with you that helped with some of that change? Where did or and what was that advice that they gave you and who was it that really was that catalyst for you?
It was Jesus Christ. It was God. I can't give that credit to anyone else. Um, the angels came because of him, because of that, and I know God Jesus is always there, um, but he is the reason I've changed who I am completely. He has come in and allowed things that I didn't know how to forgive or move past or to do when I'm like, I don't know what to do with this information. I didn't know what to do with it then. I don't know what to do with it now. And somehow, um, he's come in and allowed that change. I have wanted that change for once in my life, I think. I think, in recovery, you get really desperate for this thing, but I wanted a change of heart. I wanted this to be my desire. I didn't want to fake it anymore, dag nabbit. I was tired of it. I was tired of pretending that I was happy all the time and that everything was together. Because it wasn't. It wasn't. I did not like myself back then. Note to self, I really do like myself now.
So
This rolls into a question that has been on my mind for a minute is you talked about being so angry with God
Mhm.
and being just to the point where you wanted nothing to do with it. So where what helped you to re-find your faith?
Refine my faith when I had none.
Yeah.
Um, well, in recovery, they teach you gotta have a God. So they taught me to stop praying formatically. I had to be deprogrammed, let's get honest. Okay. I had to deprogram myself in some different ways. Um, but oh, the biggest thing that changed me was I waking up every morning and sitting there and actually reading God's word and then looking at the sunrise and looking at the thing going, "What do you want me to know? This doesn't necessarily make sense." I don't have a 12th grade education. I did not start reading the Book of Mormon, everyone. I just went looking for Jesus Christ. I'm you can cut this part, but it's my favorite part to say is I really did not want to find Jesus Christ in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, do I think that's the only place Jesus lives? Oh, hell no. If it was, we'd all be in trouble, people. Watch out. No, I think he's everywhere. That's what I've learned
Mhm.
is Jesus is everywhere. So you get to choose how you want to find him. So the only reason I do what I do now is because I found Jesus on that porch and I was like, "Hey, I feel you."
Mhm.
I started to feel him in my heart. And I'm like, I need to know more and I can't do it alone. I had left work. I couldn't drive far distances. I drove all the time just to prove I could do it. uh, Only because people I'd had strokes. Okay. That's another thing that happened with all this.
Yeah.
Life did not get easier when Kit and I picked up the stick together to decide to walk the path and to get honest. But when I found Jesus Christ, I said, "Where am I gonna go?" He helped me find a place to find him, and I would say, whatever you gotta do to find some way to find Jesus, here's what I'll say. I had to learn how to be of service to people I don't like. Yep, you heard me. I can be of great service to people I like. I've had to learn how to shut my mouth and just show up with a smile. And so service has changed a lot of that. And I had to learn what Jesus was, who Jesus was. And the only way I could learn how to do that was to find him in the Word. And in the Word, I started watching his life. So, and to be honest, Kit and I have had a hard time because of our upbringing understanding Jesus. And so we watch The Chosen. That is how,
I've watched The Chosen.
that is
It's a great show.
that is how Kit's like, okay, I guess I can get behind Jesus. So Kit will go with me now, only because he's like, yeah, I like that Jesus. I'm like, that is who Jesus is, not this other thing.
Yeah.
And so it is that. I think I found my faith because I got sick enough to say, okay, and I put it to the test. All right, you say that I'm supposed to go to a place and serve people and get along with other people. I can't go very far, and I live in Eagle Mountain, and there were not very many places to have meetings out there, people. So I was like, great, here we go. I guess I'm going to show up at this church. And I showed up there, and a little boy named Max was a little over 18 months old. And he walked into my pew and he started smiling at me. And I felt like the biggest degenerate to be in that building. And when he looked at me, I saw these eyes and I knew. And I wrote that down that day. And ever since then, I've decided to keep looking for the angels along my pathway.
Yeah.
That's what it means to me to surviving like a life's pickle is I have watched God wink at me so many times. You laughed when I said to you when we were on our little getaway the other day of whatever, I'm God's favorite. He ain't taking me out till he is good and ready. And I mean that in that everyone, we're all God's favorite. I literally found that, but I had to find that because I had to become willing to own all of me. And all of me is all the ugly parts. Liz that was a liar, Liz that was a drug addict, Liz that was an alcoholic, Liz that was mad at everybody, Liz that, you know what I mean? Liz that yelled at everybody, Liz that thought that if my kids looked pretty and were looking great, that everything was going along. When my neighbor's like, I'm listening to you scream through your back fence all day long. And I'm like, no, we're perfect, you know?
Like I'm singing.
Exactly. So, I'm grateful for that. That's how I got here. I didn't get here by myself. I got here because I honestly believe to survive life's pickle is you've got to be willing to look for where God's hand is in every moment.
Yeah.
Even if that moment is hard. Um, so after Kit and I figured everything out, I went home from work from JCPenney. My health started getting better. Everything was going great during that time. I was getting some injections with my shoulder, and the guy went too deep and gave me a pneumothorax.
Yeah.
Not joking. Ended up in the hospital for 7 days. Who could make that up? You could not make that up, people. And I was so mad about it. And I was like, how dare, this is messing with my plans. And I had no idea what God had planned for that down the road because then it gets even better. A year and a half later, guess who? It's a year and a half, or not even quite a year and a half.
Yeah.
I start having strokes, major strokes, like enough that it's making me so I have some weird vision stuff. And I get put in the hospital. And they can't figure out what's going on. And they figure out that it's because I have some blood clots and I have these irregular blood vessels and things like whatever. MRA, who knew that that was a thing? I had never heard of an MRA in my life. And all this time I kept going, what is your plan? Why do you keep taking me out? And then he asked me to serve as the primary president during all of this, people. Who in their right mind does that? And I was like, all right, you say you're going to show up and prove it to me. I'll be danged if my kids and my life does not get better. I did not want any big problems to come with that doctor that did that. It was a complete accident. I wanted 'em to change the way they did the procedure to make them have to have a ultrasound machine so they wouldn't do it to somebody else and pay the bills from the hospital. That was it. Well, by the time it took a year, over a year and a half, and I was actually 6 months out from having my strokes, and I finally get them to start dealing with it. Who knew? God, guess what? Those people came back and they paid that and then some money, which ended up being able to allow me to stay home completely. And then guess what? My strokes get me qualified as disabled. Like, people, you can't make this up. I was home and I had no money coming in. Kit and I didn't know how we were going to make ends meet. I was just like throwing a wing and a prayer. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to pay this money every month. I don't know. They said if we're going to do it, that it'll work out. And no, I'm not going to look at the numbers because that will give me anxiety. It's like, I need you to look at the numbers. I said, I need you not to look at the numbers. We have B word meetings. And anybody, just so you know, if you're married, you should be having the B word, and it's budget meetings. We call it the B word because it is not fun.
It's not fun, and we had to learn that ourselves. So
I wanted to avoid the budget meeting forever in my life, but we have the B word meeting now, and being able to suit up and show up in a way and like being able to like have those blessings come in of like, wait a minute, now we have these things paid off. Now we can do this stuff. We didn't have to get lawyers. We didn't have to do all these things. We were just able to get a little bit better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that is, I think, where I've seen where I'm like, okay, well, this is working. All right, God, you say if I give some of my money to people, and trust me, I've heard the whole theory my whole life, and I never thought it was true. I don't care where you give it, people. Just try and just give it to Jesus. If your Jesus is anywhere you want to give it, give it. Just give 10% to someone. I don't care what you do. When you serve, when you sacrifice things, it gives you something back in return.
Yeah.
And it gives you back something you can't put in a bank account,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it goes back to, I'm going to use it again, is that vulnerability of you being willing to try something with just your faith.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable enough to say, I trust you.
Yeah.
And you said you started having the B word meetings. But the one thing we haven't talked about is Kit has been right bit with you. He grabbed that stick and worked on it. From what I'm hearing, my observation in this visual story I have in my head of you and him going through all this is you showed him the path of vulnerability and he caught on. So you guys were able to start walking that path together.
100%. 100%. That's exactly what happened. I will remember, I remember the day that a therapist looked at me when we were in therapy a few years ago because I was like, that's fine. If you want to make this work, we're going to therapy. Hillary was like, oh, you'd be crazy, lady. I knew you wanted me in therapy, but I was a little bit like, no, I'm not going to stay if you can't do this. Anyways, we're in there, and this therapist says to me, I said, I don't want to have to be the one to make this stuff happen. I'm tired of being the one to have to make it happen. And he looked at me and he goes, I think you're strong enough to do it. I said, I don't care. He said, I think you're strong enough to do it. And I got really mad. I said, did you hear me? I don't want to be strong enough to do it. He says, I know, but I think you're strong enough to do it anyways. And that's all he said to me. And I was so pissed when I left there. It seems to be the theory of my life of things that stick with me. And I was like, and then I learned Kit did need me to just be okay with me. That is how I think the biggest thing is I needed to stop being okay trying to take care of Kit. I needed to be okay taking care of me and say, okay, you take care of you. And I'm going to stand right here by you and believe in you the way you've believed in me. I did not, there are problems that Kit had, but I did not realize that Kit was steadily pushing me and at times dragging me up a hill I didn't want to go. And I do mean that to the bottom of my heart. I say to people all the time, we are married because of him. I would have thrown it all away. And he became vulnerable too.
Yeah.
He When I said, "I can't do this anymore and I wanna do this with you," and he says, "I need you to fight. I wanna be a grandpa with you." So, yeah, baby giggles are what I'm grateful for. My backyard being full of my kids and my grandkids with him is what I'm grateful for because we did get vulnerable, and we are breaking cycles. We are talking about things in our family. I have nieces and nephews that will call me and ask me questions about our family, because I really wanna be open. My mom was later diagnosed with bipolar. I have, cousins who fight bipolar. I did not have I'm not bipolar, I wanted to be. Why? No, that's because then I give me a pill, remember?
Yep.
Fix me.
Give me an excuse.
Instead, no, Liz had poor behaviors. I was more of a borderline than anything. I would just act out in poor behaviors.
Yeah.
Let's call it ace and ace. So how did I want my husband to get any help if I was unwilling to get still enough to help myself? Um, I think as I think I scared Kid a lot because I was coming at him, like, I almost think of it kinda like as, like, taming a horse now. Um, I think that at first he was like a skittish horse being like, "What are you doing? You're acting crazy." And he needed me to get quiet so he could approach me and be like, "I'm right here." And I needed to get to a place with God that I needed to learn that I didn't need anyone else to know I'm okay. It was like if my friend was okay, then I was okay. If Kit was okay, then I was okay. If my kid was okay, then I was okay. If my job was okay, then I was okay. And that's not how I am anymore. And I didn't realize that I was setting the tone for my husband and my children. I can't own what mental health comes in our family's life and what my husband has or his family's been exposed to. I can take ownership in being able to look at it and just let it be what it is and not make it be anything different. I don't have to be scared of it. Mental health is not the big ugly word. It just is what we all are dealing with.
Yeah.
We all are fighting. We're all in the grind. I hear people say all the time, "Oh, I'm so busy." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm not." And I love that I'm not busy because I actually think isn't it interesting that people almost think they're more important the more busy they are?
Yeah.
I wanna be around people who have time. Um, Jesus was never he always had time where he was always going somewhere, but he always had time for compassionate
Yeah.
detours,
Yeah.
for whoever stopped, whoever touched him, whoever he came in contact with, and I want to be one of those people.
Yeah.
I wanna be a person that shows up to you and says, "I see you. I see you in your pain. I'll sit with you, and if you want, there's another way over here." Here's a light.
Taking that time to be human.
Yes,
That's what it comes down to.
it does.
We are all human at our core.
Amen.
We all came in the same way, screaming and kicking and slippery and sliding. Guess what? We're all going to go out the same way
Mm,
with no more breath left in. So, in between those times, be human. Take the time to just be who you are
mhm.
and show other people who they are by being you with them.
Yeah, and I never realized what a gift that was. My daughters have actually talked to me now really openly about how much more they rely on me. I watch my grandkids now. I watch babies. One day I watch one 18-month-old one day, and I watch a 9-month-old another day, and I take the other two another day each week. Um, my daughter actually she called me on the carpet a little over a year, almost a year ago, and she said, "Mom, when you get mad, it's like you backlash at us when we've made you mad." And I was like, "Wow." So she had to be vulnerable with me
Mhm.
to say that for me to be able to take that in. And instead of me getting mad, I was like, "Wow, I want to connect with you. I want to do better. because
Mm,
I want to open up the
yeah.
relationships, you know? I think say that I love people. I do. I care more about a relationship than I care about an item any day of the week. And I think that we are all far more human than we think. And one of my pickles and one of kids' pickles is us assuming that everyone has it together, that they're not struggling
Yeah.
over the same things different ways. Does that make sense? And we talk about that all the time, and we were giggling at ourselves because sometimes isn't it so funny? You can get driving down the street and you'll be like, "Oh, I want that car. Ooh,
Mhm.
I want man, did you see so and so? They were going on this trip today. Ooh, I would really like to do that." You know what I mean? And it's really easy to be like, "Oh, that would be fun. They went over there." And now I'm learning to enjoy the baby giggles
Yeah.
and enjoy when my daughter calls me and I'm in American Fork running errands, and she calls me at 5 o'clock at night, and she's like, "Hey, are you gonna make dinner?" "Well, I wasn't." "Alright, do you wanna make me dinner?" "Sure, pull out the hamburger, I'm on my way home, we'll have
There you go.
tacos." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to be that kind of mom, and the only way we can do that is by being vulnerable,
Yeah.
and it's taken all of us. Kid's been in this with me, but Kid has gotten really vulnerable. Kid's gotten vulnerable with his kids. Kid's gotten really open with his kids about where they were at. He finally said to him, it's like, "Look, I'm scared. Like, I'm scared." And then my kids were able to say, "Hey, we see that, Dad, and you don't have to do this alone." And they came in. I think in 100%, this life was never meant to do it alone. We were meant to run in packs.
Yeah.
We were meant to run in packs, and we all need a pack. And I think the biggest thing is let's all make a pact within each other to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To be like, I am not having an okay day. I don't know why, but the world is against I feel like I'm the biggest I think I'm a loser. I had to say to Hillary today, Hillary, I'm really scared to come tell my story. I'm throwing it out there. I've been really embarrassed about my story, about the choices I've made, and that for so long I wanted to blame it on others. And now I realize they were choices I was making out of pain because I wasn't in a good place mental health wise.
Yeah.
And I surrounded myself finally with people, true people. And it took God taking everyone away from me for me to be him to be like, "Hey, now choose carefully who you want back in your life." And I'll tell you what, the people that are back in my life literally brighten my smile in my eyes. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, I've had to I think what it is when you wanna get tough, it's being able to be vulnerable, that you were a jerk to a friend who was in a hard place, and you say you're sorry to 'em, so that because you realize that they had a lot of good in your life, and you leave it at just saying you're sorry so that you can own that you did that, and wait and see what happens, and God just might open up the door again and say, "Here you go. She was never away from you." I found that in my life. I have found that the man who I did so many times I would do things wanting him to chase after me and say, "Don't do that, I love you. Please don't do that, you mean everything to me." And he never would, he would just let me do it, and I was like, "What are you do—" Now I understand that was him holding everything back to allow me. He has the exact same type of thing as I, like, want to grab you to stop you, he freezes. And I'm like, "Oh, man, you were right there with me. You were in it, and I was pushing you." And I think that is what this life is about, is learning to grow and change in our vulnerability. Being a true man being a true man is being willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
A true man is willing to be vulnerable, and they take guidance from all around them. And I love that about people. I love relying on Kit to be like, "All right," and know that I can talk to him later. And if it's something that I stand back and he says something later, I can be like, "Don't you ever put me in that position again that I have to back you, and you were a jerk." And we grow from that, and we grow together. I think that Kit had an idea in his head, and this is the big difference. Also, Kit came from a family that was married, and his mom and dad, right, wrong, or indifferent, they stayed married and they fought it out, and Kit was gonna do that. I came from a divorced family, so I was more than willing to call it quits and walk away. I'm so grateful he hung in because the beauty we have now is great, but we only get there if we're vulnerable, and that's a day-to-day basis. That is a day-to-day basis.
That piece of advice right there is just that's a powerful one. I mean, everything that you've shared today, because like I said, I only knew this little snippets, itty bitty little snippets. I had no idea, and this has been so enlightening and powerful. And quite honestly, this is going to take me a few days to digest everything. And I have to just say thank you for being you and vulnerable and sharing this with everybody tuning in today, but really for sharing it with me and sharing it with Hillary. I think for some reason, I think we needed this, and it was the right time.
Yeah, I just want I would say this, and I've said this to Hill. I believe any relationship can work. If you truly found a reason to kindly love and get in with it to each other, you can find any reason to make it happen. And it just takes that kindness and vulnerability on both parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, as we wrap up, I got to steal Hill's question
Okay.
because I want to end on something really kind of fun.
Okay.
If you could be a superhero, who would you be, Liz?
Ooh. Huh.
I mean, I know if you had a choice, you would be Mrs. Vulnerability, but hey, besides that,
I probably would be Wonder Woman because I'm an advocate at heart and I like that truth rope. I'm like, just tell me wherever we're
love
at.
it.
Yeah.
Give me all the good, bad, ugly parts, and I will still love you, but don't give me any hidden things. So I think I'd be Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman.
That's so
Yeah.
perfect.
And it's a wonder I'm still standing.
Yeah, I love it.
You are
Love it.
Wonder Woman.
You are.
For sure.
We just need to get you a lasso, and here we come for Halloween. Let's do it. So, well, Liz, the final thing we do at every end of every one of our episodes is we turn the time to you. We've sat and just absorbed all this amazing information, but is there a question? You and Hill have known each other for 10 years now. But as we sit here, is there a question that comes up for her or for me or for both of us that you want to ask that's on your mind?
Yeah. Um, that's a really good question. I guess I want to know what drives you to want to do this podcast and to be vulnerable with the world? Because this scares the crap out of me. And I'm pretty fearless, but this scares the bejeebies out of me.
At first, it definitely scared the crap out of me too. And I was very, very nervous.
You didn't even want to be on some of the shows
Yeah.
at first.
Well, and
Told me that.
at first, I really didn't want to be a part of it fully. I wasn't fully invested in it at first. And as we've come along this journey, I've said it a million times, but vulnerability is contagious.
Mhm.
The minute that I'm vulnerable with somebody, it allows them to be vulnerable with me, and vice versa. And it has given me so much growth and knowledge and power
Mhm.
that it has been one of the best gifts. It has brought our relationship closer. It has given us just new friends, new people that we've been introduced to that it's been such a blessing.
Mhm.
And that's why we continue to do it. At least on my side. What about you?
I just love the fact that I get to sit here and talk about things and listen to other people's stories, but letting everybody know we're all in this together. That's our motto is navigating life's challenges together. And that's what we're doing. We're navigating them. Sometimes I'm steering the boat. Sometimes he'll steer in the boat.
Sometimes
Today,
the boat's
Liz was yep, and Liz was steering the boat today. So you know what? We all take turns steering the boat. But as long as we're navigating it together, this can be a great time here.
I think that's awesome. I just want to tell you guys thanks because not enough. I don't think there's enough good people out there doing some podcasts just like wanting to share and be like, "Hey, this is who we are and we want you to know there's hope out there and that there's a lot of light out there," and talking about the things that most people put under the rug.
Yep.
You know, especially here in a good old state of Utah, which I love. I'm born and raised here, love it. Wish I could stay forever with my kids, but everyone keeps moving here so I can't.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I love people and I hate them at the same time.
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh,
Yeah, we love Utah. You know, we will advertise it and enjoy it, but come visit and then get out.
yep, absolutely.
I don't mean to be rude, but please. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, everybody, this has been amazing. I really hope that everybody tuning in today has felt the same way that I have felt. There's definitely so much information that's come out today that somebody could grab onto something. I hope you grab onto all of it because I sure am. Like I say, it's going to take a few days to digest,
Yeah.
but we challenge everybody at the end of every one of our episodes. This one is special. I want everybody listening to really think hard about who needs to hear Liz's story today, who needs to hear this message, and share this episode with them. It is the only way we can continue to do this. It is why we continue to do this, and we can't grow without your guys' help. By just sharing this episode with somebody in your life, a family member, a coworker, a friend, or possibly somebody you just met today on the street. Share this episode with them. Let them know that there's hope. Let them know that they're not alone. Let them know that life is great.
As long
And
as we have each other.
as long as we have each other. So tune in and share this with that person. But between now and then, we want you all to keep your head up, keep that smile on your face, and don't forget that you're.
Such a big deal to us.
Thanks, everybody.